And
You're
I'm
welcome.
very excited about you sharing about how you are empowering and training spiritual children, or even the discipleship journey you're taking people through.
Okay, I would love to answer that. And also, Leif, another time, if you want to schedule it down the road, the other questions you asked, we can do another broadcast. It'd take at least 30 minutes to do that one too, down the road. But I like to do this one, to try to keep this one with the other one. How do I empower my spiritual children? You know, I know that sometimes there are spiritual children I have that I have not met, because they send me emails and they say, you disciple me from afar. And I do that through my writings, through my books. And actually, I probably learned more, was discipled more from Wimber from his books than when I was with him.
Wow.
Because I had a lot more opportunities to listen to his teachings and to watch by video and books and things. So I know that that's very important. So one of the reasons why I write is it continues the teaching. And I know that a lot of people that sometimes I'll meet them in the school and said, you're my spiritual father, but I never met them. He said, because of your writings, they've helped me so much. So that's one way. That's kind of like, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up to what I think is, and then in addition to my books, if people come to, like, you have them, I have them, you've actually taught a lot of them, or what I call, it used to be called the Supernatural School of Healing and Impartation. And we changed the name. One is Foundations, the other is now Empowered, instead of 1 and 2. And you've spoken in those, and but I think these are so important. And a lot of people, that's where they first get not only aware of the information, but they first get touched, you know, with impartation, the power of God hitting them. And when we're praying, and they're usually smaller. And I have to confess, I'm not doing as many of those as I was in the past, but they are, and you're usually bigger than they were. But that's a really, really important way, because people can watch and listen, and they can come and receive impartation. Then some of the people who do that, they come to the Global School of Supernatural Ministry 1 or 2 year, and some of them do a 3-year internship in one of our departments, or with me as their personal mentor. And that's one out of the whole school. I pick a year. And most of my interns have gone on and have really good ministries of their own. Then we've developed that to make it broader, to where some of what we developed with the Christian Healing Certification Program is really probably the best I have done as far as healing and deliverance goes. And we've now included that in our College of Ministry, where you can get it just for a certificate, or if you want credit for it, through another institution. But where one of the greatest things is, sometimes I'll meet a pastor, and God will really put it on my heart that this is a strategic leader, recruit them into the seminary that we've started. And we have like 100 and some students in the master's, but I have about 12 younger guys in their 30s. A couple are in their early 40s. Most of them are in their 30s. And it literally is about 12 right now, that when they're going through in my classes, sometimes I'll have 20, 30 students, and there may be, these 12 are usually at different places, not always in the same class. But when they're in one of my class, I make sure that in the cohort groups that I have other teachers that help me, teacher assistant, these select ones I've recruited, because if I see the call of God on their life, and I want to sow into their life, and I actually want to be able to, respond, which I can't do that to everybody with my traveling schedule. But I have others I've trained, and they know how I think and stuff, and they're helping me with the others. But there's some that I just pull them close, And in addition to the seminary, I try to have every month to 6 weeks or something, a phone call where we just Zoom, get on with these, as many of these guys who can make it, and dialogue and talk. I put a priority to try to go to their church, or maybe every other year, every year, and speak into their church's life. So it's literally the most commitment. And they are in the master's program, and I'm hoping that many of those will come in either the D-Min or the THD. Again, so I want to walk with them all the way through that. I want to mentor. I want to train. I want to say, here's the best things that I've been able to find 51 years of ministry. And so it's that formative thing. Then I also know, I asked them, come to the nations with me. It's one thing, this education is really, really good. I really do value it. I've got, 3 doctorates, including an honorary one from the Methodist Seminary. But this is, you need to see the other side. Come to Brazil with me, which is my land of anointing. For you, you'd be taking them to a Middle Eastern country, so they could see the miracles of God. And then for them to, and then often I have one guy who's in that group every Sunday by 4 or 5 o'clock, usually. He sends me a little video, just 2 or 3 minutes, telling me what happened at his service on Sunday, what he's thinking about, what he wants to try, and asks me to be the sounding board. Do you think I'm thinking right here? What should I do? And I just do that. And I love it. And then this is rare, and I don't do this very often, but occasionally there'll be somebody call me that for some reason I feel like I'm supposed to just give a couple of hours, maybe 4 times a year, for 2 hours, where they just ask questions and I try to answer them. And I have a guy who was doing a PhD at King's College or University in London, one of the prestigious theological seminaries, colleges, universities. And he was in that. And so it started out, he just started shaking. He didn't know why. I'll be reading, and all of a sudden I'll just start shaking, and then I'll start laughing. Do you know anything about this? Somebody said I should call you. And then he began to tell me about other professors that were being hit at, one of them was at, I think, Yale, but they didn't know what this was. And so occasionally, rarely, there's someone that God just says, you can give that much time to that person. So, and then I try to encourage them. And then I try to give them platform. And then I know that this visibility that God has given me, I can help them with. Like you were one of those. I invited you to go to be one of the speakers at these schools, the 4-day schools in these places. And
I did that for about 10 years, actually. I was just looking at that. 10 years we did that from the first one, and then all the Voice of the Apostle, which is, of course, a huge honor, and getting to meet a lot of people, and it's amazing. Because
I feel like there's some people is like the church needs to see this person. They're not known really great. They're not greatly known yet. They're not famous, but there's such an anointing on their life. Give a platform to them. Like one of the things I just did, this latest book that I wrote was called, came out in August, Intimacy with God.
I just got it yesterday from you.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it. And actually, your story about the singing in Tanzania is one of the stories in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're one of my illustrations. But I have a young guy. I have a young intern, only in his mid-20s, and no one really knows who he is, and yet he's got a pure heart. He's not perfect. I don't know if he's had the limp yet or not, but he will eventually. If he's in ministry long enough, somebody's going to hurt you. But I just feel like one of the things I'm to do is let people know who he is, because there's such an anointing on his life. And he's in the seminary also, and the master's program. And he went to the Global School Supernatural Ministry 2 years. He became my intern. That path I laid out a while ago, he's gone through all of them. And I actually believe he'll end up in the doctorate, not just so he can have letters behind his name, but so that he can be more knowledgeable, more aware of the field of, like, he's really interested in revival history and stuff. And because I think he's going to really be used in revival, but he's also extremely gifted in revelatory gifts. So in this new book, instead of me putting my stories, more and more my stories in it, because, I'm going to be 70 in February.
Wow.
And so, and I got all I can do now. I got all the invitation. I'm like you, I got more than I can say yes to, but he doesn't yet. So I purposefully, and also because the quality of the stories, his case studies, his stories, his testimonies of how God would give him revelation, what God did with it, were so manifested the grace of God. Leif, I cried when I read them. In the introduction to the book, there's one of the first stories. I actually wept when I first read that. I used it last night on a Miracle Monday and could barely read it without crying. I had trouble getting through it because it's so focused on the grace of God. And so the platform was my book. I used 3 of his stories so that people will know about him. And so and I think the other thing in being a good spiritual father is being so secure in who you are that you're not afraid for your sons to be more famous than you, to accomplish more. I remember that when this was first tested, Ben, I had my first intern ever. He's like 18 years old. I was at Bill Johnson's for his church for the first time. And I gave words of knowledge, and I asked him if he had any. He said yes. He came up and he gave as many as I did, and my shirt, his buttons are popping off, proud of this young man I'm training. And then he went on and on and on with more words. Now he gave twice as many as me, and I'm being threatened. And subconsciously, I started backing away from him. I'm standing right beside him. I'm backing away subconsciously. And then I realized consciously what I was doing. And then the Lord spoke to me and said, why are you threatened? If this was your son, he was the same age as my oldest son, Josh, almost exact same age. He said, if this was Josh, would you be backing away? Or would you be excited? Would you be threatened or excited? And I said, Lord, if this was Josh, I would be so excited. I want him to be more than me. He said, you can't be a spiritual father until you have that father's heart towards your spiritual sons too.
Wow.
And right then, Leif, God healed that in me. And I walked right back up to him. And I literally have had that in my heart ever since. So that when, Will Hart, one of my spiritual sons, now working as CEO for Heidi. He came up to me one time and he said, Randy, I'm so excited. Out of all the persons who spoke at this conference you've done, I have sold the most. I outsold you. My teaching sold more than yours. And I wasn't upset with him, and I wasn't threatened by him. And I was happy because if I've had something to do with these people's success by sowing into them, then I share in who they become.
Yeah.
And that's why I have no problem saying a lot of the people I've laid hands, including you, a lot of the people that I've laid hands on have actually accomplished more than me and seen sometimes greater miracles than me. And the other thing is, I know my clock is ticking. And I know that I can't believe it's been that long since we met, but it doesn't seem that long. And, you know, I probably have about half of that time left. So you're younger than me. Will's younger than me. This other guy in his 20s is 40 years younger, 45 years younger than me almost. So you have to see that when you have these spiritual sons and daughters, which I have spiritual daughters too. Yeah. You know, one going into Indonesia, risking her life, and has chosen celibacy and not to marry as a missionary, was an intern of mine. That no one, I mean, she's not famous, but I also used one of her stories in the book because I want people to know about her. So I think that is my intentionality and my heart toward empowering spiritual children.
Beautiful. Just one wisdom question, because I know we end up with 2 podcasts here, and we're going to utilize part 1 and part 2 with Dr. Randy Clark. So, but how would you know the difference between spending or investing time in some of those sons and daughters? And I know a lot of it has to do with stewardship, but connected to that in regard to, because I know there's so many people, they're coming to you or they're hearing those stories, and it's like, if I only had a spiritual father or somebody invested in. So what would be some of the word also you can encourage people to be good sons and daughters, and not just be sons and daughters of blessings, that say, if my value system is just what Randy's going to do for me, that's going to lead to disappointment. But if me as a son to Randy Clark, if I'm coming into Randy, say, how can I add value to Randy Clark as a son? That's a whole different way of living. That creates freedom for you. But when it starts to add value, how can I add value to you? And that's how I lived with Jack Taylor for 21 years, was on a daily basis, was not because I needed a father, but I needed to be a son. I'm not saying it's not a need to be a father, but the biggest thing that happened for me is to wake up in the morning and having a spiritual father, and to have a sonship before my apostleship or leadership or any other ships. So any wisdom in regard to both for people that are they're looking into, and they're looking for mentors, fathers. And second of all, how do we know if there's not just another orphan, they're coming in to see what they can take from you, but they are actually sons and daughters that you are investing in, and they are investing in other people again because of what God has done in their life.
Yeah, well, you're right. We only have so much time, and we can't be a spiritual father in the way I've talked about to very many. There's just limitations. Some people come and they ask me, I want you to mentor me. And I know that this is not one of the ones I'm supposed to pull into that special relationship, but I'll say, you know, I don't think it's going to be possible to do what you're wanting, but I received a lot of influence and mentoring from John Wimber through just reading every book he wrote, watching every video that he made that I've found. And that's something you can do. And I also sometimes said, well, come to the school. These are the ways that people can connect, but how do I select these ones I just mentioned about the 12? And it doesn't have to be 12. It'd probably be more than that. I look to see what God's done in them, and how powerful was their experience of, in the church. Wimber taught me, said, look to see the people God powerfully touches, because they may not be a leader when they get touched, but they're probably going to become one, because that touch really grabs their heart. So, and then when I hear, as a result of that touch, what God's doing with them, and they're stewarding that, they're living that out in faith, then okay, that's another really important thing. When I look to the heart, not everybody has the right heart. And that's where my wife's been really good. Is when I was a pastor, she'd say, watch out for this one. She had a discerning of spirits that I really didn't have that. I was just like, believe the best about everybody, but she could see sometimes that, this is not someone you're supposed to give yourself to in that way. That there was something alternative or unhealthy thing there. So I think that people have to realize that sometimes what they're wanting to do in life, I'm not the right father, that there's another father that's a better father for that. For example, someone was wanting to be a missionary to the nations. I'd say, wow, why don't you go listen to Leif, go to some of his conferences, maybe go on a trip with him. I have people that have been my interns that have become missionaries, but actually quite a few as I think about it. But I look at the heart, and I think that's important as well. And then I look at how much they're willing to pay in the sense of cost to them and their, time, energy, and money because, if they have to, I wrote to John Wimber when I first got touched, and I said, I'll sell my home and I'll move my wife and I and our little baby, and we'll buy a U-Haul or not a U-Haul, but a little camper. And if you'll let us, we'll park it right on the church lot, and I'll serve you as an intern for free. I'll work another job if I have to. Would you let me be your intern? That's, that he did. And he said, no, I have all the interns I need. And I got rejected. But anyway, there is that something about when you see the men, they're really in. They're sold out. I started to say earlier, the transformed life, what does it look like to me? When I see someone that's got a surrendered life, consecrated to the Lord and his purpose, and it's a sacrificial life, and it's a spirit-empowered life. I look, all right, surrendered, sacrificial, spirit-empowered. That's when I know I'm seeing a transformed life. And I want to give myself to raising up the other strong leaders.
And the last one, and we have actually covered all the questions, plus more. A lot of bonuses here. What is the legacy? What is it that the Dr. Randy Clark, looking into the future when Dr. Randy is gone, what is it both that you want to be remembered for? But second of all, also, what is the legacy? How is this world a better place? Because I know God gave you a gift, but what you did with that gift is your gift back to God. It's called glory. So my question is, what is your legacy?
Yeah.
What is that you will leave behind?
I told my board once that when I'm so old that I can't do anything, I don't want to look back and just see a bunch of experiences. I'm thanking God for every experience, but I want more than that. I remember being discouraged in the late 90s that I was considered Mr. Renewal. And that's where the name Global Awakening came from. I didn't want to be just renewal. I want to be involved in revival awakening, and not just a local awakening. I want to be in a national, even more. I want to be in a global awakening. And I turned to my friend and said, I'm going to change the name to that because I want to give my life for awakening. I want to be known as a person who did walk in humility, because I think that needs to be modeled. I told my board, because they asked me, what's the most important thing for you to do the rest of your life? And I said, and instantly just came out, I want to raise up spiritual sons and daughters. Because I just think that really is the most important thing, which means my legacy will be these sons and daughters. My legacy is that the ministry I did and have done and will continue to do doesn't stop when I die. It is continuing through people that the Lord has called, and I had a chance and privilege to have some mentoring in their life. and hopefully it's not just the power, but it's also health. I hopefully, and I'm not perfect. I tell every intern, I said, if you watch my life close enough, you'll see great strengths, and you're going to see my weaknesses, because you can't have some strengths without a corresponding weakness. You know, like I am not organized at all. I got to have people around me to keep me organized. But as I told him about Wimber, I said, I saw great strengths in Wimber. I also saw some weaknesses. And I told him this: I want to learn from your strengths and your weaknesses. And he told me, he said, Randy, and he told me, he said, I want you to do that. And so I think that's going to be part of the legacy, is strengths. Is sons and daughters. And right now I want to raise up, find the people that will be professors in the seminary for the next generation. A lot of them now in their 60s and 50s, and a lot of them in their 60s. So raise up another generation. It's on fire. Find these on fire people that we can have really experienced in word and deed. I don't want professors that knows it in a book, but they haven't seen Jesus do it, because you're not as excited. You can't talk as excitedly when it's all theory, even though you believe in the theory. You need to have seen it, experienced it. So I want professors who know the word and have seen the power. I want professors that have seen blind eyes open, deaf ears open, seen people, get healed, seen people delivered, so that when they're talking about it, it's not theory, it is reality. So I want to find a legacy. I want to have a seminary that has another generation coming up that be professors. And I got to find people that will be the president and academic dean, because Tom and I are in our 60s, getting close to 70, and raise that up. For my own ministry, I thank God that most of the people in my ministry now are in their 30s and 40s. That's leaders. A lot of them are in their 40s right now, which is, that I'm happy about that. And I sense for the pastors I'm raising up right now, I'm finding in those 12, a lot of those are pastors in their 30s, 40s. A lot of them are in that 40 age bracket, right around 40, and either running ministries, or like Will Hart and Teo, or apostolic overseers, or pastors of very large churches that are hungry for the power and presence of God, that can help us raise up other pastors like that. So I'm looking at, for the network, who's going to be the leaders, the strong leaders, and then I'm pouring into these guys. Like I said, what I've done for you, I want you to do for others. Yeah. And I want them to have that heart, that they have that heart. Beautiful. So that's what I want to see. And so I told myself, I want to see people doing renewal. Like I was going to the churches and doing renewal, activate, having an apostolic anointing that's on their life, that they literally, when they pray, God uses them. They don't cause it, but they're chosen by God in an apostolic way to lay hands on people, to stir up gifts. Now, it's all sovereign. God's the one that does it, but they have to have faith for it and know how to see what God's doing and co-labor with him, and activating, not just people being filled, but then activating gifts. That's two of the main things that the apostles did. Not that it is them alone that could do it, because he used Ananias as a disciple, and with Paul in Acts 9. But so raising up pastors, raising up apostolic leaders, raising up professors, so that everything that God has led me to do, it continues when I can't. It goes on, and they reproduce. That's what I want. That's my legacy, and I hope on my tombstone is on John Wesley's tombstone. They could put the adjective apostolic.
Wow.
And I'd also like on there that people, a humble servant, because I believe the apostolic is to be humble servants.
Beautiful. Wow. I just wanted to encourage everyone that is watching for you even to take a few moments and perhaps even ask, what would you like to be known for? What is going to be your legacy? And even listening to Dr. Randy Clark, what are some of the things from this interview that you can take the ingredients out of that, bring it into your life? We talked about both the honor, hunger, and humility, but also how are you investing in other people's life, or who is investing in your life? So I would encourage you even to get Dr. Randy Clark's book. I just got the Intimacy with God, and he has a whole lot of good groups. Or perhaps you're supposed to join the school. I have the honor of teaching in that school. So we're going to make sure that you get that information. And I'm just also excited. We have something called leifhetland Scholar as part of it. And several people that started the school, the doctorate program is part of that. So I saw Abby and I saw Chuck, and another one that I recommended, I got in there. So I saw 3 faces last night. So that was encouraging. So January, we're going to have some more people. So if you are there with a master's degree and would like to do a doctoral program, just contact me, and we're going to contact the school, and we're going to have a lot of fun in this journey together. So Dr. Randy Clark, thank you so much for this interview. We got a double interview, and this is a double for our trouble. We got double blessed today, and we're very excited for the couple of weeks that people are going to be able to be part of getting the nutrients out of so much good food that you are actually served us. Thank you.
Thank you, Leif. I'd like to just say goodbye with my life's message, and it is this: God can use little old you.
Wow. Thank you.
Love
you, Randy.
Love you, Leif.